What's going on, brother? Today, I'm going to talk about how to build an anxiety-proof mentality. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Gino, and I'm a men's fitness and personal development coach. And today, we're going to talk all about how to build an anxiety-proof mentality. But first, I want to tell you a story about when I was on a heart rate monitor for 24 hours. I worked as a personal trainer for 12 years, and about halfway through that timeline, I decided, you know what, maybe I want to make a career switch. Maybe this wasn't for me anymore. Maybe I wanted to take a new path in life. So I decided that I wanted to go to medical school. The problem was I was fucking terrible at school. I couldn't concentrate for long periods of time. I was diagnosed with ADD as a kid. It was really difficult for me to actually sit down and focus on what needed to get done. Right? Especially when I'm like at a desk or something. So me and school were not the best of friends. So I decided to go on Adderall. I did try it once when I was in high school as a kid. I was prescribed it. But I got off of it immediately because I didn't like the way it made me feel. And I decided, you know what? Everybody that's trying to go to med school is taking Adderall right now. So why would I put myself at a disadvantage, right? When they're fucking basically zooting around on this thing and getting all their work done and having a great time doing it. So I decided that, you know what? I'm going to go on Adderall because if I'm serious about going to med school and I can't focus, then this is obviously what I need to do, right? I need to go on Adderall. So if you don't know what Adderall is, it's essentially meth. Okay, it's a fucking drug. It messes with your brain chemicals, all right? And it's highly addictive, and it's not good for you at all. It kills your appetite, and it makes you depressed because it fucks with your brain chemistry. It keeps going up and down, peaks and valleys. And although it helps you get your work done, it is very destructive to your health long term. So at one point, I was only eating about once per day when I started taking that Adderall. Like literally, I think there's a restaurant, or not a restaurant, it's like a little, like basically like a liquor store in Michigan called Buscemi's. I used to stop there and get myself like a pizza roll like once a day, and that's all I ate. You know, I didn't eat anything else all day. Just take my Adderall, I would have a fucking large coffee with it, and I wouldn't eat all day, and I'd just have a little pizza roll at night. So that's pretty much my situation. But I decided also that, you know what, I want to make room in my life for this med school thing. I'm going to give it my honest effort. So I decided to basically kick out working out. I decided that I was not going to work out anymore. I decided I'm going to spend all of my free time focused on the one thing at hand, which was going to medical school. So that's where all of my thoughts and all my concentration were focused on. And I became obsessed with it. Literally from the time I woke up in the morning till the time I went to bed at night, all I could think about was going to med school. All I could think about was being a medical student. I literally watched every single episode of Grey's Anatomy, The Resident, and The Good Doctor, which is like fucking, I don't know, like 500 episodes or something. Insane. I watched every single one to keep myself emotionally invested into the idea of going to med school because it's what I thought I wanted, right? And I wanted to give it an honest effort. And I was already taking all the Adderall and shit, so I might as well do the most I possibly could to increase my chances. So I went down this journey. I literally found myself at one point like frantically writing down my class schedule. So in college, like basically you're trying to plan out your school schedule, so it's like you could finish your degree. I was doing something called an integrative studies degree, which means I was picking my own classes, right? I was deciding I didn't want to fucking follow some stupid degree. I want to pick the classes I want to do. I started taking like human cadaver dissection classes, like super high level anatomy, like neuroanatomy and musculoskeletal anatomy. And I just decided to pick which classes I wanted. And I wrote down my schedule over 150 times to try to find the most efficient and quickest way to finish out my bachelor degree so I can get into med school the fastest. So I was getting really frantic and obsessed with this entire process. I even studied for the interview process for med school. So when you actually go to apply to med school, you have to do something like that's a medical school interview, right? Where they basically kind of sit you down. Each school has their own interview process. They ask different types of questions, and sometimes the entire interview is structured different. So I studied that interview process for literally 2 years. I bought books, I listened to podcasts, I went into forums, you know, and I actually even learned about the psychology of the interview process itself. So yeah, I was a little bit crazy about this, a little obsessed. I even found myself watching medical student vlogs on YouTube to understand what their life's like, what they're going through on a day-to-day basis. I was very, very invested into this idea of becoming a med student. I even started working as a medical scribe because as I continued the journey of learning what it took to get into medical school, I realized you need patient experience, like patient contact hours. That's part of the process. And so I decided to work as a medical scribe, which basically means you're the doctor's bitch. Basically means you follow him around with a little fucking clipboard or a little laptop and you write down the notes for everything he's saying. And I realized very, very quickly that that was definitely not for me. None of the doctors seemed happy with what they did. They didn't like being there. They didn't like their lives. And they were all out of shape. And I'm not going to be naive to think that that's the case with everybody, but it's just my experience and the way that their energy was and what they were doing for work. It just did not seem like it was something that I wanted, okay? And at this time, I actually started having medical complications because, again, we're about 2 years in here of me taking Adderall and not fucking eating and not working out. I was becoming extremely unhealthy. It got to a point where, like, every time I actually stood up, I would lose my vision for 30 seconds. Like, dude. Imagine when you stand up and have you ever stand up and lost your vision? Imagine losing it for like 30 fucking seconds where you get dizzy and you got to grab onto something. You're like, oh shit, I'm going to fall, right? Every time I stood up, I lost my vision. And I thought this is probably not fucking good, right? So I decided to go to the doctor. And he put me on a heart rate monitor for 24 hours. And he's like, look, dude, I think something might be wrong with your heart. They actually thought I had something called WPW, which is Wolff-Parkinson-White disorder. And it's basically a rare congenital heart disease where basically your blood stops pumping at a certain rate or some bullshit like that. Anyway, they thought I had some sort of like heart problem, so they put me on the heart rate monitor for 24 hours. And, getting all those tests done by the doctor and stuff like that, and them telling me that my heart may be at risk, which it was fine, by the way, but like still, all that happening, the thing that surprised me the most was that when he weighed me at the doctor's office, I was 166 pounds. Dude. 166 pounds. Now, just to give you some context, 2 years prior, I was about 240 pounds of muscle, right? I was bodybuilding. I was fucking big. And I lost all of that weight. What is that, like 50-something pounds? Yeah, like 53 pounds or something, 56 pounds, somewhere around there. All right, in a matter of 2 years, I lost that much weight. Fucking crazy. Okay, all that muscle I lost. Come to find out that losing all that muscle was the reason why I was losing my vision. Because I lost so much weight, when I stood up, my body wasn't circulating blood properly because in order for your blood to actually circulate properly, you need muscle contractions and movement to actually squeeze the blood through your body, okay? At least when it comes back to your heart through your veins. And I wasn't doing that, right? My blood pressure was really, really low because I lost all that muscle and I lost all that pressure around those blood vessels. So every time I stood up, I was something that they called orthostatic hypotensive, which means I lost my eyesight the second I stood up. And it was because, basically, I lost all that muscle. And it was at this point where I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, dude, what the fuck happened? How did I get here? Like, how did I get to the point where I was this unhealthy? I wasn't working out. I was fucking waking up in the morning, taking Adderall, slamming a fucking large coffee, not eating all day, then eating something shitty. My mental health was fucking deteriorating. I was just in a bad place. I was in a fucking, I was in a weird headspace. I didn't feel like getting up in the mornings, except the only thing that got me up in the mornings was I was taking a drug, that fucking wake me up, right? But it just it progressively got harder. And I just kept looking at myself like, how the fuck did I get to this point? And it was at that point when I had my first ever massive anxiety attack. Actually, it was the last one I ever had too, but it was an anxiety attack. And if you ever experience an anxiety attack, it's fucking creepy. It's weird. It's like your fingers curl up. You lose control almost of your fingers, like the motor function of your fingers. It closes up. You get super cold and your face turns pale white and you just feel like you're dying. You feel like you're alone. You feel like, the world's coming to an end. It's a crazy feeling to be overwhelmed by anxiety if you ever had an anxiety attack. And my girlfriend at the time that I lived with actually was a paramedic. So she's seen shit like this all the time. She was very cold to this feeling. And dude, it actually freaked me out even more. When I seen her, the coldness she was giving me, I'm like, holy fuck, nobody cares about me. It's like you're having all these anxious, repetitive thoughts, right? Nobody cares about me. I'm gonna fucking die here. This girl's not even taking me seriously. I told her I had to go to the fucking hospital. She's like, no, you don't, you're fine. I'm like, fuck, And I realized I needed to fix this shit. I'm like, this is getting out of hand. I'm like, what the fuck happened with my life? It's like I blinked open, I came back alive. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with my life? I need to fix this. So I decided to get some blood work done because I knew a little bit about health at that point, and I wanted to make sure that all my hormone levels were in good position, because if I lost that much weight, chances are my testosterone levels are probably fucked, because testosterone helps you build muscle, right? We want to make sure those levels are healthy if you're going to stay healthy. So I decided to get my testosterone levels checked, and my testosterone levels were 249. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about testosterone levels, let me just tell you that the threshold point to where they actually give you medication at my age was about 500. And I was at 250. Dude, I was a fucking woman, basically, right? I was like that Olympic chick at the fucking boxing, whatever the fuck that's about, right? I had very little testosterone levels. I was basically a fucking woman. So we made the decision for me to go on TRT therapy, which is testosterone replacement therapy, which is basically taking testosterone injections, because it was very unhealthy when your testosterone levels are low like that. It can cause all kinds of problems like depression and anxiety. It can even cause fucking early dementia. There's all kinds of shit that can happen in the male body when your testosterone level's low, including losing muscle, losing appetite, losing sex drive, and gaining body fat. So I wanted to make sure that I got those levels fixed. And once I got on that TRT, I decided I also need to get back in the fucking gym, man. I need to get back in the gym immediately. And the second I started actually working out for after about a month, we'll say, everything that happened to me disappeared. All those negative things I experienced, my blood pressure, right? My anxiety and depression. I no longer lost my vision when I stood up. I started to lose body fat. I gained 30 pounds of fucking muscle in a month, right? I stopped taking the Adderall because I realized it was fucking poisoning me. And I actually left my toxic relationship. It's like I had a clarity of mind after I got back in the gym and I started working out, because as you continue to move your body, you're going to think more clearly, right? It's like you're opening up a new world, a new reality. It's like when your body's like very sluggish and depressed and anxious, it's sick, man. And what you need to do is you need to start moving it. You need to start getting up and moving around. And working out is the best way to do that, right? So I decided I'd start working out again, and I built that 30 pounds of muscle, lost some fat, my mental health increased, and I also left my ex. And I realized at that point, fitness is literally a fucking gateway drug. It's the gateway to personal development, right? It's the thing that unlocks your potential to better yourself. And it's basically a vehicle not just to change the way that you look, but to change the way that you feel about yourself, to change your mental headspace, right? Because I want you to think about this. Like, your brain is inside of your body, my friend. Your brain's inside of your body. So what do you think happens to your brain when your body is sick? Your brain gets sick, right? And that ain't good, right? You don't want your mind to get sick because you're not working out, you're not eating healthy, you're not taking care of yourself. But here's a caveat with that, is if that's also the case, then so is the opposite. The opposite is also true. That if you have a strong body, if you're working out and going to the gym on a regular basis, you will craft a strong mentality, an anxiety-proof mentality. Because what you are now doing is you are going to the gym, right? And you are channeling all that negative depression and anxiety energy into your workouts, okay? You're moving your body. You're using that negative energy in a constructive way. You're working out your demons. You're getting that shit out. So that will have a positive impact on your mental health, because instead of letting that negative energy stir up inside of you, you're going and you're putting it to use, right? So going to the gym is a must. So look, like, if you're experiencing depression and anxiety, like, I want you to know that it is fixable. Obviously, if you're fucking ill in the head, right? Like, if you're like, you need help with somebody fucking living with you, right? Then obviously you need to go seek some therapy or something. But I'm talking about if you're experiencing some depression and anxiety that you feel like is just lingering around and you don't know why it's still there and you're conscious of it and you want to get fucking rid of it, then I encourage you to go to the gym, to start working on your physical health, right? Because when you get your body moving, you will actually fix a lot of that, okay? Because like I said, your mind, when it's sick, is what you experience with that depression and anxiety. If you can make your body strong and get healthy, well then so your mind will follow that. So, I have seen, like, personally, firsthand, like, how valuable fitness is in terms of your mental health. I've seen how valuable it is in everything in regards to my health in general, in my life. And I want the same for you. Like, I want you to also experience that, but I also know how difficult it can be to get started if you're not already working out. Like, if you're not already going to the gym, because it's a large learning barrier. It's a huge learning curve. It's very difficult to learn all this stuff, and it can be intimidating. So look, if you're dealing with all this stuff, if you want to find a potential solution to all these problems, if you want to take back control of your health and take back control of your mental headspace, then I encourage you to join Animus Academy. The link is down in my description below.